Hello everyone, welcome to Semi-Homesteading with Abby. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. We're going to dive right in, so let me just give you a really quick recap. I wanted to make creme brulee donuts, which are like cream filled with caramel crust on the top, and I wanted to bring them over to my family's like home church event. So I was on a very quick time crunch and things turned out to be a disaster. So I'm gonna walk you through the fail attempt and then I redeemed myself. So it turned out okay. The donuts were actually very, very good, but I figured out what had gone wrong the first time, so I corrected it the second time and we got some good donuts out of it. So enjoy the video and let's get into it. So it was Sunday morning and I was making the dough. And here you are witnessing my fatal flaw. See how I do not have the tablespoon, I have the teaspoon, and I'm adding yeast, just a teaspoon of yeast. Well, I didn't know what it was supposed to look like after 15 minutes. It said wait till it's frothy, so I saw this and thought, oh, it's pretty frothy. This must be what I'm supposed to see. So I mixed it in the stand mixer. Now, another problem was that I didn't use fully softened butter like the recipe called for. I hadn't planned ahead that much, so I used butter that was still a little hard. So I thought that was maybe the problem. I ended up having to put this back into the stand mixer and add a little milk so that the dough would actually stay together, which is a huge red flag that I should have just stopped there. But, you know, I was ambitious and I thought I can still get this done before the family party. If I just push through, surely it will turn out okay. And that was not the best. The dough was just not cooperating here. But I go ahead and I, cut out the rounds and I think, maybe this will be okay. They look kind of like donuts. Like, this should be fine. So after I cut them out, I put them on a baking sheet all greased up. They were not rising, so when I put them in the oil, they literally just sank to the bottom. Okay, so I don't think that worked. I think my problem was that the butter was too cold and then it was kind of chunky, so then the dough didn't rise. That's my theory. I'm gonna go to the family church event and then I'm gonna come back and try again because I really want these creme brulee donuts. I'm going to make this again. So that was like the fiasco part of that Sunday morning, but let me rewind a little bit and show you the good part where I actually did make the custard kind of at the same time as the dough, and that turned out really well. So it was a really easy recipe. It's essentially just milk, cornstarch, and some flavoring like vanilla and sugar and things like that. So the custard turned out really well, and this is the same custard that I just used a couple days later when I made the actual good donuts. If you put the saran wrap really pressed up against the level of the custard when you store it in the fridge, it will last a few days without forming any sort of a film on it. So I was able to do that, and so not everything Sunday morning was a disaster. Okay, 2 days later, I started trying to redeem myself with these donuts. This is a very involved recipe. There are a lot of dishes that you have to use, a lot of time. So I just didn't have time that Sunday afternoon, so I just waited until Tuesday to make the donuts. I knew my custard was still good, and I just needed some room after the initial failure. So I made sure with the initial yeast mixture that my milk was the right temperature, should be about 120 degrees, so I ensured that it was. And then this is the exact moment that I realized I had used not enough yeast the first time. I realized I needed a whole packet and I used about half the packet last time. So that was, I knew I was on the right track already. I had to just add some sugar to the mix it up, and then you're gonna see here in just a minute how much foamier the yeast mixture is. And I mean, if I had known that this is what I was supposed to expect the first time, I would have stopped trying to make the donuts like right away, because this is so much better. Okay, so this is after 45 minutes. It's definitely a lot bigger. I'll probably let it sit for another 15, but it's definitely working. And by this point last time, it had not risen at all, basically. So I think we're on the right track, and I think it's gonna be very good. While that's going, I'm going to start heating up my oil. It needs to get, sorry, that's kind of loud. It needs to get to 360 degrees Fahrenheit for it to fry up correctly. So I have this oil that I just kept from the other day, so I'm gonna reheat that up, and then we will get to frying the donuts here soon. Since I'm kind of in a rush, I'm also going to prep the custard. Let me set you down really quick. Okay, so I've had the custard in the fridge. It has that film on it that I showed you. So it should still be fresh. It's still looking pretty good. So I'm going to just mix it up and put it in a Ziploc bag so I can pipe it into each donut easier. I don't have like a frosting tip, but I think with a skewer I can kind of empty out the inside of the donut first, so it should just work with a Ziploc, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, oil's going. I think it's time to roll this out. It's a lot bigger than when I put it in. I'm also gonna use this cup. So I don't have a 3-inch cookie cutter cup, but I figure this is like a pretty good size. It might be a little bit big, but better too big than too small, I guess. So this is gonna be the size. I'm just gonna do this and cut it out like that. Actually, wait, I might have a better cup for this. Maybe like, I need something with maybe a sharper edge. Maybe a wine glass, actually. That might work. Okay, it's a little bit tough to cut with the wine glass, but it's working well enough. Okay, I cut out the first little batch, but I did not do it that efficiently. I have like all this extra, so I'm gonna re-roll and cut some other ones. Okay, so now I have to wait for about 15 minutes for these to kind of rise again. And then I need to check that the oil is at 360 degrees. So I have just like a meat thermometer, and I'm gonna be checking the temperature. I think we're close. We're at like 400, so we're definitely good to start frying. I'm just gonna cover it up, and then in about 10 minutes, we can drop them in. In the meantime, I prepped where the donuts would go after frying, so I put paper towels down and then a cooling rack on top. I'm a little bit impatient and I really just want to try to fry one. It hasn't been 10 minutes, but it's like probably close from when I first started rolling them out, so I'm gonna give it a try. This might be bad news because it's sinking. And it might be too hot because it's really getting brown quick. Okay, I'm gonna take it out. Ah! Okay, let me show you what just happened. It looks very brown. I didn't have it in there for very long. And it kind of sank. Now, the shape looks okay, I think. Like, that could be an okay donut. But I think this is a little too hot. So I'm gonna cool it down to actually be 360. Okay, I just checked. We were at like 500 degrees, which is way too hot. So I turned down the heat a little bit and I opened up the lid. So hopefully that'll cool down. Also, I don't think it'll hurt to have the donuts rise for a little bit longer because that one just kind of sank. So that was a good test, but we're not quite there yet. It's just completely doughy. Like it didn't cook anything, which is what I was thinking because it just turned brown so quickly. So that one is not good. Let's see if this has cooled down at all. And it's still over 450, so we got some time. Okay, I thought the recipe said that these were supposed to sit for like 10 minutes. It turns out they're supposed to sit for like 20 or 30 until they also double in size. So we have definitely like 20 minutes to go, and the oil is taking a really long time to actually cool down. I just want to turn off all the heat. So I'm keeping it on like just medium, almost medium low now, and I'm gonna cover it back up and then wait 20 more minutes. So a little bit anticlimactic, we still have a little bit of time. Okay, so I did not time this well, and I have Bible study like in literally 1 minute. I was just gonna not join or join late, but there are new people joining the group this week, so I wanna go for introductions, but I'm gonna have to turn off my camera for part of this and like make my donuts, I don't know. Because this is like kind of time sensitive, so we'll see how that works. The donuts tasted amazing. I loved them. We have eaten most of them by now, a couple days later. The one thing is that they never seem to look like the recipe picture. In the recipe picture, you could like crack the top and it was just this amazing caramel creme brulee top. That did not happen for mine. The caramel, I don't think got to the right consistency maybe, but the first time I tried to make the caramel like that, it burned. So there's, I think, a very, very narrow window for how much you can cook the caramel. So overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Of course, they're not as pretty as the recipe picture, but that is okay. They taste amazing, so I'm happy with how they turned out. That's all for today's video. Thank you all so much. Make sure to like and subscribe for more cooking, baking, homesteading videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.